And then, what about the empty calories, the last item? What do you suppose empty calories is? That would be the sodas, the store-bought cookies, the stuff that really doesn't have much nutrition in it, but it sure has a lot of fat and a lot of calories, and a lot of sugar, and a lot of sodium. And then for your perusal later, on the back there is more about the food plan. So I hope this is worthwhile for you. When you're looking at the calories on the food chart, generally, if the front of the box says it's low in calories, it'll have less than 40 calories. If it says it's high in calories, it'll have more than 400, and otherwise it would be moderate. Then we're going to go on into these specific nutrients, and these are the ones that need to be limited. This just doesn't quite work with my notes here and me here. However, that's all right. You'll just have to pretend I know more about what I'm saying than I actually do. And these are the ones that you want to get more of. You want to get more of the carbohydrates, the fibers, and the sugars. We're going to start with the fats and talk about them. Okay, fat is a nutrient. It's a very important source of calories. 1 gram of fat supplies 9 calories. 1 gram of fat supplies 9 calories. And it doesn't matter if it's good fat like monounsaturated fat or bad fat like a trans fat. It supplies 9 calories. Now here's the kicker for you. 1 gram of fat is 1/4 of a teaspoon. Think about how small 1/4 of a teaspoon is. That is 1 gram of fat, and that is your 9 calories. So when we slather the butter on our toast, we're not getting we're not getting 9 calories. We're probably getting 4 or 5 times that much. It's important to watch your serving size for that reason. Fat is one of the essential things that we eat. Our body needs fat. It carries and stores the fat-soluble vitamins like A and D. And of course it's in an awful lot of food. Some of the food we get, we add ourselves, like when we slather that butter on our toast, when we put that big pat of butter on our vegetables before we eat them. We know about those. What we don't know is what is already hidden in the food. So many of these products have ingredients that sometimes they call it fat, but it comes up under other names. Remember, fat has a lot of calories. It's got more than twice the calories of carbohydrates and more than twice the calories of protein. It's the highest, most densely filled calorie source that we've got. If you eat too much, you're going to gain weight. You're going to put yourself at risk of cancer, of heart disease, high blood pressure, and stroke. The experts recommend that we eat no more than 30% of our calories come from fat. The experts recommend that we limit our fat intake to 30% of our total calories. Now there's 2 kinds of fat, and that's based on their chemical structure, and I'm not going to pretend to be a chemist, but that is how it's divided. We're going to begin with the bad fat, and that's the saturated fats. Read the label. The bad fats are the ones that affect your cholesterol, your blood cholesterol. They are solid at room temperature. You find them in meat and dairy. You find it in coconut and palm kernel oil. That also is a saturated fat, in spite of what the media will tell you currently. I'm going to divert just a minute to the coconut oil. It had been used a lot. In the early 80s, somebody decided that it was awful, and so manufacturers started taking the tropical oils out and putting in more of the trans fats and the other bad oils. Which is worse? So, and now there's been a resurgence. I think Dr. Oz has been singing the praises of the coconut oil. The research shows that, yes, coconut oil raises your level of the good cholesterol. It also raises the level of your bad cholesterol. So, is coconut oil good for you, or is it not good for you? My belief is that if you use coconut oil for its flavor, and it does taste wonderful, and you're replacing one of the saturated fats with this other saturated fat, it doesn't make any difference. But as far as saying this is the end-all and what greatest thing for nutrition, I don't think so. It does make a nice skin cream, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so under the category of saturated fats, we have hydrogenated oils and trans fats. What they do with those is take the liquid oils, add some hydrogen to it, and it becomes solid. It makes the food item more substantial, and for the manufacturers, it increases the shelf life, which is okay. That's enough of that. We don't want. Tiffany brought an interesting display here of fats. And in these containers, this shows the amount of fat in servings of various foods. This happens to be Ritz crackers, and this is the amount of fat in 8 Ritz crackers. You like this one? This is the beef prime rib. We love those, don't we? How about this one? Not every food contains fat. This is the fat in cooked pasta. That's before we put the butter on it. Afterwards, if you want to take a look, it's very interesting. Okay, so we've talked about the saturated fat, and under that, the trans fat. By the way, trans fat is considered to be unstable. They're encouraging the manufacturers to stop using it. Frito-Lay is phasing it out of their products. Yay, that's a good thing. You find it in a lot of potato chips, and I think it's Ruby Tuesday, who is no longer using any trans fats in their food. Then we're going to go on to the unsaturated fats, and these are the ones that they consider to be good. These are the fats that they're liquid at room temperature. So think olive oil, think vegetable oil, anything that is liquid at room temperature. Okay, then we've got the polyunsaturated fats. Those are a good one. Those are good. They can help reduce cholesterol levels. And I really don't want to go into a lot of detail with the polyunsaturated and the monounsaturated. If you're interested in finding those details, you can look them up. I was sure when I was putting this together, I was going to lose everybody because it's just too much. Okay, but the most important thing to remember about fat, all fat, whether it's good fat or bad fat, you could be eating lard. Doesn't matter. A quarter of a teaspoon has how many calories? 9, no matter what. And that is a quarter of a teaspoon is 1 gram. So, we're going to move on now away from the oils that's been up here, and we're going to go down to, I guess, cholesterol is the next one. Okay, now we've been warned for a long time to avoid cholesterol, and the current thought on that, and when the new food charts come out, they probably are going to reflect this, that they have decided that the amount of cholesterol we eat is insignificant to the amount of blood cholesterol that we've got. Our bodies are continuing to make its own cholesterol, and so they believe that the amount of cholesterol we actually consume in our food is not that important. That's good news. That makes it one less thing for us to worry about. But just for general information, while cholesterol has the bad reputation for heart attacks and all of those things, and it is a type of fat, but it's essential for building cell membranes and other structures. It forms the protective sheath around our nerve endings. The body uses cholesterol to make testosterone and estrogen, and it's also important for the bile that digests our food and absorbs fat. That's basically what I've got to say about cholesterol. Now we're going to move on to salt and sodium, which again is one of the things that we have to eliminate. Table salt is sodium chloride. It's about 40% sodium and 60% chloride. The value of sodium, it adds flavor to food. It's used as a preservative. It's a binder and a stabilizer. So our bodies really need a very small amount of sodium. Actually, just about 1 teaspoon a day is all we need. 1 teaspoon a day is all we need. And think of how we take that shaker and go all over everything. We need salt to conduct nerve impulses. It helps to contract and relax muscles, and it maintains the balance of water and minerals in our body. Too much salt can lead to high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. And this is an amazing statement that you'll be so surprised to hear. Most Americans consume far more sodium than their bodies need. The American Heart Association recommends that certain at-risk groups should reduce their sodium intake to 2/3 of a teaspoon a day. Those people are over age 50. They already have high or slightly elevated blood pressure, people with diabetes, and African Americans. When the new food list comes out, their recommendations is that everybody switch to 2/3 of a teaspoon to be their aim instead of the whole teaspoon. We don't get most of our salt from the salt shaker. Most of it is hidden in food. When you pick up a package of food, this is a favorite. Every child loves this. When you look at the label, the amount of sodium in a serving. Now we're going to do this the right way. We're going to start with the serving size. The serving size is, I love these, 2.5 ounces. Now many mothers are going to measure out 2.5 ounces. But this box has 3 servings when it's cooked. And 1 serving has 570 milligrams of salt. Based on your 2,000 calorie a day diet, that is 30% of your daily need for salt. That doesn't leave room for much more, does it? I'm moving on to carbohydrates.
Can we go back to sodium?
Certainly.
2/3
Of a teaspoon
of a teaspoon.
per day.
That's nothing.
You're exactly right.
Especially when you're cooking, that's nothing.
Yes. But when you're cooking, you're making more than 1 serving.
That's true.
a show and tell again, rice-a-roni. Here, the amount of sodium in a serving, and there's 3.5 servings in this box. The serving of the sodium here is 890 milligrams. That's 47% of the amount of sodium that somebody has the 2,000 calorie a day should be eating. So, but you say, this is so convenient. Yes, it is, and I agree. And it probably has some pretty good flavors in it. They say add meat and just add tomatoes. Well, this is rice, but so is this rice. This rice has sodium, 0. So how about if you take this box, add a cup of this, and dilute the amount of sodium that you're eating. Just an idea. It's still high, but it's sure a lot less than it was. Did that answer your question?
I'm still thinking like it's 2:30. And I know I'm making rice, I add salt, whatever
Well,
and
we
salt.
have a handout that you're going to get later, and, or no, I think you already have it. And it suggests things that you can do in place of salt. And so many herbs. Why do we put salt in food? For flavor. So what if you put in oregano? What if you put in some basil? What if you put in some balsamic vinegar? All of those things can make food taste wonderful without adding the salt. And then you become a gourmet cook when you start doing things like that.
Also, if you're trying to reduce the salt in your diet, do it gradually. I know that, when you get on a pattern and you're used to a certain way, but as you gradually reduce your salt or anything in your diet, your taste buds kind of change with that. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't cook with any salt. So if I go somewhere else, it's very, it's very strong when I eat. So you gradually do it over time. If you do it overnight, you're not going to like it. And you might go right back to what you were doing. But this is the sheet that gives you a no salt herbal line. I'll have it. I'll show you one. Try that and see if, just make some changes that way. One recommendation I recommend, and I don't know if Linda does, but try cooking without the salt. Do your flavorings after the fact, because that way, you're not using as much. But that's a no salt herbal blend right there.
Okay.
And then there's suggestions to use in place of salt as well.
I have also read that if you are cooking, say, soup or whatever, and you put about half of the amount of salt that the recipe suggests in at the beginning, it will permeate the food far better than if you add it at the end. However, that's for something that's going to cook a long time. If you're one who's paying attention to carbohydrates, this is the number that you're looking for. This food has 19 grams of carbs. Now, the carbs have 3 components. The first is starch, the second is sugar, and the last one will be fiber. Foods that are high in starch include vegetables like peas, corn, potatoes, dried beans, lentils, peas. Watch it though if you're buying a can of, say for instance, of garbanzo beans, because it's full of sodium. Make sure you rinse those beans. If you have baked beans and the sauce is part of it, that's not an issue, so do watch the sodium in those things. And there's also starch in grains like oats and barley and rice. A whole grain has 3 parts. The outside part is the bran. We've all heard of raisin bran and all that. That's where that name comes from. It's the hard shell on the grain. That's the part that provides the most fiber, and it also has the vitamin B and the minerals in the grain. The next layer is the germ, and that part is just packed full of nutrients, and it includes essential fatty acids and vitamin E. The final part of the grain is the endosperm, and that's the part that's got the starch. Now, if you're buying a product or if you're eating whole grain, like one of my cereals suggests to have whole grain, you're getting all of the parts of the grain, and you're getting all those nutrients, you're getting the fiber and all that. If you eat a refined grain, all you're getting is the endosperm. Usually they're fortified, they put vitamins and minerals back in, but there's something to me that just loves to know that the food is the way it was meant to be and not chemically altered. So whole grains are more nutritious than the refined grains. We've talked some about fiber. Fiber comes from plants. You will find no fiber in dairy. You'll find no fiber in meats. It all comes from plants. It's the indigestible part of the food. Most of it just passes right through you, and it's not digested. We like to laugh and say that's the roto-rooter of our body to keep us cleaned out, and that it does. The recommendation is that adults get 25 to 30 grams of fiber every day. Most Americans don't consume anywhere near enough. In fact, most people only eat about half of the fiber that they should. There's not any conclusive evidence, but research is suggesting that a diet high in fiber may reduce cholesterol levels, and it may help the absorption of sugars. High fiber intake has been linked to reduced heart disease, reduced type 2 diabetes, and reduced occurrence of diverticulitis. But there's no found link between a high fiber diet and colon cancer. Sources of dietary fiber, it's going to sound a lot like some of the other lists that we've read. Beans and legumes have a lot of fiber. Fruits and vegetables, especially those that you eat the skin of, like an apple, or that you eat the seeds of, like berries. Whole grains are a good source of fiber. Whole wheat pasta, whole grain cereals. They recommend looking for a cereal that has 3 grams of dietary fiber or more. Whole grain breads. To be considered whole grain, and you should look for a bread that has 3 grams of fiber in each slice.
That's hard to do.
Yes, especially since we lost, what was the bakery that was up by Haynes?
Funny.
No, Great Harvest.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. Though Kroger's, I sound like an advertisement here, I don't mean to, does have a 9-grain bread that really is quite yummy. Actually, it's 9 grains and seeds. And also you can get fiber from nuts, but be careful with the nuts because nuts also have a lot of fat, and we're going to get back to that. If we eat too many nuts, then we're going to have to worry about those extra 9 calories per gram of fat. Okay.